Have you ever shared a moment with someone that quietly rearranged the pieces of your heart? A talk that slipped past the surface and touched the quiet corners you'd almost forgotten were there? I figured I was just stepping in to help a friend, keeping an eye on her teenage son for the evening. But what caught me off guard was the way he opened up to me. Direct, genuine, without a trace of pretense. His thoughts weren't scattered or fleeting. They were deliberate, piercing right through the walls I'd built over the years. They woke up a part of me that had been dozing in the shadows for far too long. Before we dive deeper, I'm wondering, where are you listening from right now? Drop a city in the comments if you feel like it. It's always fascinating to picture you all out there, from bustling streets to quiet corners. All right, let's settle into this tale. That day, I wasn't aiming to be anything special, just a neighbor lending a hand. Sophia rang me up early, her words tumbling out in that familiar rush of a mom juggling too much. Her regular helper had bailed at the last second, and she had to dash off to the clinic for back-to-back shifts. Without a second thought, I offered to look after Theo. I'd helped out before, but it had been ages. He was 17 now, on the cusp of adulthood, tall and independent. The place was peaceful when I pulled up, the kind of suburban home with flower boxes in the windows and a faint scent of fresh laundry in the air. Sophia enveloped me in a quick, thankful embrace at the threshold, slung her medical kit over her shoulder, and hurried away, her car fading down the tree-lined drive. Left to myself in the cozy glow of the den, I anticipated a low-key night, perhaps flipping through channels or letting him retreat to his room with headphones on. I wasn't braced for Theo's entrance. He descended the staircase with an easy grace, like a memory resurfacing unbidden. He'd shot up since last time, his frame lean and assured, topped with that unruly cascade of chestnut waves that defied any attempt at taming. Dressed in a simple gray hoodie and track pants, socks whispering against the wood floors, one wireless earpiece loosely hooked. His grin was relaxed, carrying a hint of mischief, as if he'd been holding on to a secret just for this. "Evening, Elena," he greeted, dropping onto the armchair with a casual sprawl. "Surprised it's you tonight." I returned the smile, gauging the warmth in his voice. "Your mom has a knack for catching me when I'm free." Theo chuckled, a low, easy sound. "She's a pro at that." I settled into the opposite seat, a sudden awareness settling over me of how the roles had flipped. 17 is that awkward bridge, lingering echoes of childhood mixed with the first stirrings of maturity. And here I was, 62, with 2 marriages behind me like faded chapters, weary in the bone-deep way that sneaks up after decades. Yet there was a subtle solace in being useful, even for an afternoon. Our chat began light, the usual surface ripples. Classes, his plans for campus tours, the sci-fi flick he'd abandoned halfway through. But Theo was keener than I recalled, his insights laced with a quiet depth. When I inquired about his college major, he pivoted toward me, folding one leg beneath him. "Leaning toward sociology," he replied, eyes steady. "Human behavior pulls me in, the gaps between what folks claim and what they truly harbor inside." I paused, absorbing that. "That's quite profound for your age." He lifted a shoulder dismissively. "Ever catch how grown-ups often respond like they're in a spotlight, rehearsing lines for an audience that isn't even there?" The observation settled into me like a gentle weight, stirring the air in my lungs. I took a measured breath. I suppose we all pick up those habits along the way. Theo cocked his head, studying me with unhurried curiosity. "But what if you could set it aside, even briefly? Just be real?" It wasn't accusatory. It was an invitation, extended like a bridge over still water. I fidgeted slightly, the directness catching me like a snag in fabric. To lighten it, I quipped, "You were simpler to mind when you were convinced monsters hid in the closet." His face lit up. "True, but back then I didn't push you to reflect, right?" That drew a genuine laugh from me, one of those rare, unguarded bursts that surprise even yourself. I hadn't let one loose like that in ages, least of all with someone half my age or more. The hours unfolded lazily, weaving through topics like old friends reuniting. We meandered from favorite novels to indie tracks, pondering how time etches lines on the outside while the spirit stays curiously timeless. Midway, he mused. The toughest thing about youth might be, spotting that elders aren't as put together as they seem. They've just mastered the art of concealment. His tone held a blend of insight and tenderness that halted my words mid-flow. No sarcasm there. He was acknowledging me, seeing beyond the labels of sitter or family acquaintance. Plainly truly me. "You're perceptive, Theo," I noted at last. He dipped his head, then ventured with a touch of hesitation. "I figure we overlook so much by assuming no one's really tuned in." Something uncoiled within me then. Perhaps the hush of the room, with sunlight slanting through sheer curtains, or the measured rhythm of his speech, rich with unvoiced wisdom, or simply the rarity of conversing without the constant filter of caution. Gradually, I shifted to the cushion beside him, not invading space, but bridging it. The gap hummed with an energy that defied easy labels, not sparks of desire, but a hum of empathy, esteem, and mutual regard. He angled toward me once more, voice hushed. "Do you ever crave someone who hears the unsaid parts?" My pulse quickened. Oh, how I did, for longer than I cared to count. And inexplicably, this young soul, this emerging adult, had tuned into it. Words failed me, but in the ensuing quiet, between his query and my silent echo, a subtle realignment occurred. Some truths don't require utterance to resonate. That marked the spark, though I couldn't foresee it. That exchange, that generational bridge of quiet accord, would unearth facets of myself I'd deemed lost to time. And Theo? He'd keep unveiling layers I never anticipated. When Sophia called again, pleading for coverage during another grueling night watch, I agreed before she could plead further. She layered on regrets and promises of dinners out, but I brushed them aside. "No trouble at all," I assured her, though inwardly my motives had evolved beyond mere friendship. Theo swung the door wide before my knuckles met wood. "You're ahead of schedule," he observed, his smile warmer now, laced with sincere delight. I slipped inside, towing off my flats in the entryway. The home seemed altered, or perhaps it was my lens. Faint strains of acoustic guitar drifted from hidden speakers, mellow and unobtrusive, wrapping the space in a serene veil. On the side table sat a pair of ceramic cups, fragrant steam rising like whispers. "You brewed chamomile?" I queried, arching a brow. He nodded offhandedly. "Guessed you'd appreciate the comfort." The thoughtfulness disarmed me. Not the act alone, but its effortless grace. Few at his stage would bother. Theo stood apart. We claimed the sofa anew, yet the atmosphere had softened, intimate without pressure, as if our prior dialogue lingered, eager to continue. His inquiries delved deeper, not perfunctory nods to courtesy, but probes revealing attentive ears. "What defined you at my age?" he wondered. I let out a soft laugh. A whirlwind, chasing illusions of romance, jotting verses in journals, fantasizing about distant shores I'd likely never chase. "What held you back?" His tone was tender, probing without intrusion. I gazed into my cup, the liquid swirling. Life's clamor builds, drowning out the whispers of ambition. Theo fell silent briefly, then responded with care. "That dims the light a bit." I met his eyes. "Why so?" "Because I sense that dreamer lingers in you still, the one hungry for horizons." My inhale sharpened. No coy undertone, no unease, just unvarnished clarity that rendered me visible, after years of orbiting others' narratives like a supporting cast. We lingered over those exchanges for what felt like mere minutes, but stretched into the evening, dissecting missteps, unfulfilled yearnings, aspirations that faded into what-ifs. Theo didn't merely hear. He internalized, mirroring back fragments of my essence I'd assumed shattered. "Folks often undervalue the insights forged in hardship," he reflected at one juncture. "You hold a wealth of both." A bittersweet ache bloomed behind my smile. "Plenty, yes," he reclined, appraising me thoughtfully. "It suits you gracefully." Not flattery to flush cheeks, but affirmation to lift the spirit, to draw fuller breaths. His manner transformed pauses into portals of significance. As twilight deepened, I rose to ease my stiff joints, the familiar twinge protesting. Theo mirrored the motion instinctively. I waved him down with mirth. "No need to strain for my sake." He flashed a playful smirk. "Habit of courtesy." "Courteous and considerate," I countered. You're raising the bar for your peers. Perhaps I'm wired for quieter rhythms, he suggested. I considered him. Or you're simply attuned, he agreed with a nod. Many aren't, but you invite it naturally. The quiet that followed wasn't void. It pulsed with unspoken depth, richer than extended discourse. Time intruded eventually. I gathered my wrap. Sophia's due back shortly. He escorted me to the exit, his fingers brushing mine fleetingly. Intentional, yet boundaries intact. Glad you came by, he murmured. These talks mean something. Facing him squarely, I replied, They do for me, too. His eyes held mine. You converse without the usual facades. It's freeing. I'd lost the knack, I confessed gently. Around you it flows unforced. He eased the door ajar, chill evening breeze slipping in like an outsider's nudge. Yet in that threshold, a subtle vitality stirred. Not fervor or affection, but resonance. A profound link I hadn't sought, especially in this form. As I crossed the porch, Theo's parting words echoed long into my drive. Encounters like ours aren't random. You showed me the power of true presence, seeing beyond the surface. And perhaps, in turn, he illuminated my own hidden glow. The week after, I volunteered to Sophia without reservation, masking the undercurrent of anticipation. Those dialogues with Theo had kindled an inner flame. Not infatuation, but a layered awakening. Validation, attentiveness after eons of oversight. The thrill of being regarded wholly. Rain pattered that dusk, a fine mist veiling the neighborhood in softened edges, windows streaked with silvery trails. Theo greeted me from the galley kitchen, sleeves rolled to elbows, knife flashing as he diced onions and peppers on a worn cutting board. His eyes sparkled with that steady poise. Fancy teaming up for supper? Something hearty to chase the damp. I lingered in the archway. You've taken to the stove? Experimenting. Figured you could guide. I approached the island, depositing my bag. Honored to assist. We worked in tandem, the melody of chopping and simmering underscored by a playlist of soulful blues, the overhead lamps bathing the space in amber hues, shadows dancing like old companions. The cadence of preparation invited unhurried words, reminiscences of kitchen mishaps blending into weightier musings. We shared chuckles over his recent baking flop, a cake that collapsed like a sigh. And I recounted my youthful blunder swapping spices to woo a fleeting suitor, now a hazy footnote. As the stew bubbled, I propped against the edge, observing Theo's fluid motions. He exuded a rare equilibrium, rooted yet inquisitive, not invasive, but encouraging candor, truth spilling freely. At the table, amid savory aromas and the gentle scrape of utensils, he paused. You're the first grown-up in ages who engages me as an equal, not a kid. I met his gaze over my bowl. Because you carry yourself as one. A subtle curve touched his lips. Others default to dismissal, like my thoughts don't count. But yours do, I affirmed softly. You ponder deeply. You speak plainly. That's a gift. The interlude brimmed with shared knowing, no edges to it. He laid aside his spoon, inclining nearer. And you pulse with vitality few your age retain. My pulse skipped. Vitality? He affirmed. Many settle into routines, chatting banalities or ailments. But you delve into aspirations, heartaches. You chuckle with abandon, embrace emotions fully. No one had framed me so before. Not former spouses, certainly not youth. I held his look, a quiet joy blooming. You make me sense I'm not dissolving into the backdrop. You're not, he insisted firmly, merely awaiting recognition. Silence enveloped us then, companionable, infused with hearth's glow. Post-meal, we migrated to the lounge, droplets still drumming panes, lamps dimmed to an intimate flicker, hearth aglow with crackling logs casting amber flickers. I claimed the settee, Theo the adjacent ottoman, limbs extended languidly, fingers laced behind neck. We're all hunting bonds, he ventured after a spell. Authentic ones, stripped of pretense. I inclined my head. Yet many surrendered the search. His gaze softened upon me. Not you, though. I held peace, for his insight rang true. Departure loomed reluctantly. The evening had cocooned us in warmth, reluctant to release. Theo guided me to the portal, hesitating before turning the knob. Positioned near, expression contemplative, he confided, "You've reshaped my perspective." "In what way?" A faint shrug. "You highlighted how scarce true visibility is and ignited my drive to offer it freely." Emotion welled. "That's a profound legacy." His smile was tender. "You've embodied it lifelong. I'm merely awakening." Then, with care, he clasped my hand. Gratitude embodied. No ambiguity. A simple affirmation of worth. I returned the pressure briefly, releasing. Beyond, the drizzle had eased, air heavy with cleansed earth. I paused by my vehicle, the exchange replaying. That eve, a bed, his notions swirled, of perception, of defying life's dimming. And a revelation dawned, long denied. Bonds transcend boxes. They emerge unbidden, insistent. Embraced boldly, they revive dormant embers. When next our paths crossed, an inner evolution had taken root, not altering our dynamic uncomfortably, but revitalizing my core. The interim brimmed with contemplation, brewing morning infusions, gazing in mirrors, striding town paths with renewed poise. Not rejuvenated in years, but alert, vibrant, Sophia's delay prompted a flurry of texts, apologies, a note that Theo awaited, sealed with affection. I grinned, rapping lightly. The door parted to reveal him, aura subtly transformed, as if our bond had nurtured his own growth. "Hoped it'd be you," he breathed. "Your reliable stand-in now," I teased, entering. He secured the latch. We lingered, atmosphere humming with unspoken potentials, thoughts hovering on the verge. "Coffee? If it's your special blend." A quiet grin. He directed me galley-ward. As the brewer gurgled, Theo leaned opposite, regard steadying me, not diminishing but elevating, as if my presence merited savoring. "Shared you with my English prof," he disclosed abruptly. I pivoted. She inquired about my paper's muse, the overlooked voices, figures, society sidelines. "I drew from you," breath hitched. "No identifiers," he hastened. "But your mirth, your unapologetic candor, how you affirmed my substance." Tears pricked. "Theo, that's acceptable?" I nodded, voice thick. "Beyond a treasure." He passed the steaming vessel. We perched at the nook, sunset gilding counters in honeyed light. The abode seemed suspended. "Ever muse," he murmured, "that certain souls enter to signal we're unfinished business?" Our eyes locked. "I do, increasingly." His palm alighted over mine across oak, not possessive but present, like sunlight filtering glass. "Dread parting," he owned. Softly I smiled. "This isn't farewell." Bewilderment flickered. I clarified. "Our tie in all its forms endures beyond time's flow, imparting what we craved unknowingly." He nodded, lashes damp. "You've shown me worth without performance." Exhale deep. "And you've recalled my own inherent value." The instance shimmered, luminous. We teetered on revelation's brink, not illusion but raw emotional verity, seldom grasped. The night waned in familiar cadence, discourse flowing till shadows lengthened. Sophia's return found us cross-legged on the rug, spines to divan, nursing cooled brews amid scattered verse tomes. "You pair seem settled in," she noted archly. Theo rose, diving into the profound as usual. She arched a brow, silent, trusting our rhythm, intuiting without probing. My leave-taking carried altered weight, not closure, but culmination. "This interlude stays etched," he said at the threshold. "Etched in me too," I echoed. His scrutiny deepened. "You reshaped me," echoing the self before clamor drowned it. We paused wordless, essence abiding like ember's residual heat. He parted the door measuredly, granting the instant dignity. Cool zephyr kissed my face. Glancing back, his eyes conveyed esteem, reverence, thanks, not solely for shared hours, but for voicing truths in a silencing realm. En route home, 62 felt distant. I embodied visibility, and in that, remembrance. We're perpetual narratives, primed for ties, igniting from within. But our story didn't halt there. Weeks blurred, Sophia's shifts persisting, my visits a quiet constant. Each gathering layered new facets, Theo unveiling dreams of urban explorations, me recounting forgotten travels through yellowed photos. One crisp autumn afternoon, leaves crunching underfoot as I arrived, he met me with a sketchpad in hand. "Drew something from our talks," he shared, flipping pages to reveal a charcoal portrait, not of me, but a silhouette against a vast horizon, evoking boundless possibility. "That's how you make me envision the world," he explained. My fingers traced the lines, emotion swelling. "You've captured the unseen." We spent the day wandering the backyard, debating art's role in unveiling souls, the sun dipping low as we unearthed more buried longings. As winter nipped, our exchanges deepened into letters, Theo penning essays inspired by our dialogues, me responding with journal entries from my youth. Sophia noticed the shift, once commenting over hurried coffee. "Theo's brighter since your time together. Whatever magic you're weaving, keep it up." I smiled, knowing it was no spell, but mutual awakening. One snowy eve, as flakes danced outside, we built a fire and shared tales of loss. His father's absence, my divorce's scars. "Pain doesn't define," he said, poking logs. "It refines." I nodded, tears freezing on lashes. "You've taught me that." Spring brought change, Theo's acceptance to a nearby university, Sophia's pride beaming. Our final supervised night unfolded in the garden, stars pricking velvet sky. "This isn't ending," he vowed, hands in pockets. "Just evolving," I squeezed his shoulder. "To new chapters, seen and seeing." As I drove away, heart full, I knew the shift was permanent, a reminder that connections, in their purest form, transcend age, enduring as quiet revolutions within. And in that, life bloomed anew, vibrant and witnessed.